Right, we are live. Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the Kiwi Lads channel. We are back for another match of Super Rugby Pacific, and this one is a big one for both of these sides. The Fijian Drua at home taking on the Crusaders. Now, the Drua's home record is incredibly impressive over the last couple of years, but the Crusaders having a much better season than they have had last year, which at the moment, of course, this was at the start of the round. Since then, we've seen the Chiefs take number one and also seen Moana Pacifica move up very nicely towards that top six. But for the Crusaders here, they still have a little bit of a chance of finishing second spot at the end of this round, and that is whether or not they get the win here. The Fijian Drua, they are sitting bottom of the table. They have a little bit of ground to climb, but there is a chance that the defending champs could be at the bottom of the bunch at the end of this round, which just tells you how competitive this round of Super Rugby is. This is the Fijian Drua starting lineup here. Reti Hatita alongside Tavera Ikanaveri and Misaki Donge. In the front row, Vothi at 4, and Sila Sila slots in as at number 5. In the loose ball trio, it is Joe Tamani, Tuai as the number 7, and Tanakai Vata at number 8. Frank Lamani and Armstrong Ravula as the 9-10. Tabo Aval alongside Osefo Masi, who I'll be honest has been a little bit lackluster this year at the moment. Don't get me wrong, he's had some fantastic moments, but just hasn't quite turned it into match-winning tries and electric runs like we've seen in the past for that man. Loganamasi out on one wing, Ravatomanda out on the other, and then at number 15 it is Karawalevu. That is a very dangerous back three for the Fijian Drua. And this contest, looking through at the Crusaders starting lineup, it will be George Bauer, Cody Taylor and Seb Calder as the starting three. Cahill and Shalfoon, so no Scott Barrett in that locking contingency, with Callow, Christie and Christian Leo Willie slotting in as number 8. Noah Hotham and Kamara as the 9-10, so a little bit of a younger combination for this contest. McLeod with Reese on his outside, Macca Springer, Che Fiaki, and Will Jordan at number 15. Now, overall, this is an interesting Crusaders lineup. They've gone with a little bit of a mix here, resting certain players, but also keeping the keys in there as well. And I'm very curious to see how this change for Sevu Reese goes, putting him in that number 13 jersey. In the chat, we have got there go the draw. Let's go Blues. And the women's final regular season game, says Kiwi Rob in all caps too. So that's how you know he's shouting it. But looking through at the benches for this contest for the Crusaders, they have got Moananu, I should say, as that number 16. Sykes Martin and Fletcher Null as the number 18. Strange, Blackadder, Drummond, O'Connor, and Levi Moore. So all guys, to be honest, that have had quite a few starting minutes throughout this season, but they've decided to go with them as impact players off of the bench. For the Fijian Drua, they have gone with that 6-2 split, with Kuravuli as the number 22 and Rabitu at 23. And then the rest of the forwards, of course, plenty of physicality coming for the Fijian Drua. If the gas tank can hold up, this is going to be an incredibly competitive contest. I reckon Reese will do good at 13. Says Matthew, and who knows, maybe if he does extremely well there, maybe he's got a future. At the moment, the ABs, let's be honest, Rieko Ioane, yes, he's a fantastic player, but I don't think he's necessarily got that 13 jersey completely secured for this year. So maybe it's a way of getting Reese in the team alongside Caleb Clark and maybe Mark Talia or Amoni Narua. I spoil the Chiefs woman beat the Matatu. Says Kiwi Rob and draw Blues Highlanders to win. Says Highlanders will win Super Rugby 2025. That's a little bit of a name change there, but trying to put it into the atmosphere, I guess. Island Hamish says Robert V. Welcome in, mate. I'm looking through at the previous matches for these two sides. For the Fijian Drua, they were able to beat the Chiefs in Fiji. Now, their away games haven't been going as well. As you can see, across those last two contests, they conceded 90 points, only scoring 36 for themselves, but their home games are a whole different story. The Crusaders, their last home game, they will definitely want to forget. Their last away game, they'll be pretty happy about. They'll be looking to replicate that one up against the Blues in this match as well. But the Crusaders, they were gifted the kit from Fiji Airways. They actually look like the Fiji international team kit-wise now for the Crusaders. Yeah, if anyone's wondering why they are wearing the colours that they wouldn't normally, it is due to the sponsors side of things. When do the AB7s play? They're going to be playing at 6:45, I believe it is, their first game up against the USA. Score predictions for the Blues women versus Poa. I wouldn't even have a rough prediction. To be honest, I haven't watched enough of Super Rugby Aupiki this year to be able to really know who's doing well. We have got there Do says Islanders. And also Robert V says Matthew with the waving. And Blues woman 45-0 says Matthew is his prediction. And Crusaders and Islanders have to play in 28 days, I assume that is. And who do you think will win these 3 games? I think that this one is the hardest to predict. I don't think Blues Hurricanes, honestly, I mean, it's just as tough, but I do think it's going to be based off form. And who comes into that game with, you know, it's going to be such a weird one because the Blues should be winning most of their games, but they haven't been. The Hurricanes, they want to be right up near the top like they were last year, but at the moment they're not. So it's going to be who wants it more and who wants to get their season back on the right track. But the Drua now making their way out onto the field, same with the referees. Ben O'Keefe will be the main man in charge of this contest. The FIJIAN Drua excited to be in front of a home crowd. Just talking about maybe a concussion that has been suffered for one of the FIJIAN Drua players. But we're very close to the start of this contest. Now, I will mention we are hopefully going to be covering a matchup between Great Britain and South Africa in the 7th. Who is leading hasn't quite kicked off yet. We're very close to the start of this contest, though. And Drua crowd is mad. They always will get behind their side. Both teams just in the huddle. It is quite warm in Fiji for today. We are just about ready to go. Now we have got there. We need a win very badly. Says Highlanders will win. Yeah, and up against the Western Force, I'll be honest, that's probably the Highlanders' best shot of beating an Australian team. That is nothing against the Force as well, but they have had more losses this year than any other side at the moment, although the Waratahs are slowly catching up after their game up against Moana Pacifica. But Ben O'Keefe, like I said, will be in charge of this one. Must to be 28 in Perth and 28 here. Yeah, that humidity in Fiji will also play a bit of a factor. Maybe a few handling errors early. But we are underway now, ladies and gentlemen. Isaiah Armstrong Ravula will be kicking this one off for the Fijians. Nicely claimed by the Crusaders there for Cahill. Oh, Noah Hotham having a little bit of a miscommunication there with Cody Taylor. I'll catch you later. Says Highlanders will win. Now going to be rolling this one back. Noah Hotham. Chance here for the box kick. We have got Go Crusaders Go, says Tian. And a bit of an aerial battle there. Look like maybe a knock on from Macca Springer. The ball has popped onto the side of the FIJIAN Drua. In fact, they're going to say play on, so it is just going to be Crusaders' position after winning the counter ruck. George Bauer, hard by his opposite in the scrum, Masaki Donge. Crusaders, they'll be looking for a quick start. Try-time Blues woman, says Kiwi Rob. Now going back to the right-hand side, kicking in behind, going over the head of Celestino Ravotamunda, and what a kick that is. The 50-22, and that's going to be 5 metres out now for the Crusaders. Brilliant kick from Taha Kimara, putting the Satyrs exactly where they wanted to be, just out from the Drua line. And just went straight over the top of Celestino Ravotamunda, was maybe a little bit too close to that 22 rather than being back that little bit further. But now already the Crusaders have been given that golden chance to be able to get underway. Cody Taylor, he will have this line out throw nicely taken by Christian Leo Willie. There's a well set rolling maul. At the moment being defended by the Drua. It is only shuffling sideways, but now Masaki Donge loses his footing. And that's going to be the advantage now. Unfortunately, he was holding up about 3 or 4 players by himself. And it's finally got the better of them. Will Jordan pops it up to Severis. Only 3 metres out from this line. And they're going to go back for the original penalty. I'm watching the Blues game, says Kiwi Rob. I would have probably guessed that, seeing as you are given the updates. We have good there. Are you filming the Blues? Is that filming the Blues? Maybe. Is that what the question is on? Because we are going to be doing the commentary for the Hurricanes Blues match. It's taken place in only 2 hours, 20 minutes time or so. Already the Crusaders showing their intent, kicking it to the corner here. But yeah, we are doing that game, as well as quite a few other matches throughout the evening for the sevens. After this game, we're actually going to be doing South Africa versus Great Britain. Now, depending on how smoothly this game runs, will depend on if we get to do all of that South Africa versus GB1, or whether we do have to miss the first couple of minutes. Cody Taylor, now once again, they are trying the rolling maul here for the Fijian Drua. They just have to try their best to defend it, which they have done extremely well. Bit of a counter-ruck coming from Joe Tamani. Ball pops out for Severis, though. Now sitting 5 metres out from the line. There is a new advantage against the draw. That is for being offside. Hotham goes across now to Kamara. Hesitated a little bit, but gives it off to Jordan. He's 5 metres out from the line. Beautiful sniping run from Noah Hotham. And he'll score the first try of the match for the Crusaders. Good to see you and listen. Crusaders 35-15 to the draw. Says Kevin, and the Crusaders certainly getting off to that great start. The draw just haven't had possession. Are you going to do the Women's Pacific 4? Probably will depend on when it's happening. I haven't even seen the schedule for it, if I'm being completely honest. But yeah, it just depends on when it's happening and also how many other games are happening around that same time. As we had the situation last week, we did about 20 plus hours. I think it was actually closer to 25 hours of commentary. And people still wanted us to do other games. So we still got to slightly make sure we keep the voice a little bit. But now Taha Kamara. Ready to line up this kicker. This is going to be a tough one, right near the sideline. And the crowd, very loud at the moment. Crusaders lost Moana Pacifica. That is true. So did the Waratahs, so did the Hurricanes. Moana Pacifica are not the easy beats that they used to be. I think that everyone has now worked that out, definitely in the later stages of the season. Like 21-7 down up against the Waratahs to come back and score 38 points in that second half and pretty much run the Tars off their feet was incredibly impressive. That kick, like I said, it did go over. Just going to make the score, although knocked on by Cahill. 7-0 at the moment, and we're going to see another knock on from Kristen Leo Willie, followed by one from Tamani. We're going back now for the scrum. A little bit scrappy off the kickoff there, which is exactly what the Drua needed, just to have some sort of pressure, force the error. Noah Hotham just asking whether or not it is the Crusaders ball. I don't believe it would be. I think it would be the Fijian Druas after the knock-on from Cahill. I'm not sure who Noah Hotham was talking to either. Maybe the fly half, Isaiah Armstrong Ravula. He's having a bit of a chat with him. He's a very chatty man at the moment, Noah Hotham, as most halfbacks are. Lamani going to put the ball in. They'll go off to Celestino Ravotamada, who was situated just behind the breakdown. Ikanaveri now moves to 22 metres out. That ball has popped out the side, and Shafiaki picks it up and sinks the slipper into it down towards the halfway line. Nicely taken by Karawa Levu. Goes off to Ponipati Loganamasi. Only about 5 metres out from the halfway line here. The Fijian Drua with Osoa Nasilasila. Lamani just punched someone in the back. I think that was Tom Christie. He pretty much said, "You're not supposed to be in here." Well, bang, gave him a little short jab to the spine. The Moana Pacifica came back from behind, as they have many times already. They seem to be, honestly, I don't think we've seen a second half team as much as Moana Pacifica have been, unless you're talking about maybe the Harlequins. They're normally known for being a second half comebacks kind of side. But yeah, like Moana Pacifica can be down by 20 at half time and still find a way back into it, it would seem at the moment. Is Bowden Barrett playing at the Blues game? He is. He's going to be the 10 for them, so definitely one to watch out for. Buller from Fiji today. I would listen to your commentary rather than watch it on TV. See his YouTube user. Yeah, it's much appreciated you being here. We have also got the Fijian Sevens later on. Fiji versus USA taking place at around 10:30, I believe it is, New Zealand time. We've got it scheduled on the channel just in case I forget. But then we've also got New Zealand versus Fiji. That one I do know the time of. That will be 12:22 a.m. Fiji time. Definitely one keep an eye on. Another great kick in behind. And the Crusaders looking for the 50-22. Punipati Loganamasi gets back to be able to cover though. And now looking to run it out from inside of their own area. That looked like a man taking off the ball from Che Fiaki on Ponepati Loganamasi. He may have dove a little bit, but at the same time, I don't think it was justified him getting hit where he was. Now out on the wing, Joe Tamani just runs out of space. Feel like I want to see the Crusaders lose for some reason. Says Levi. It seems to be something that quite a few people experience throughout a Super Rugby season, is that, like, anyone but the Crusaders. Right, Ponepati Loganamasi has actually stayed down here. This is interesting because if he stays down, I feel like that makes the TMO at least have a look at it. No, they're going to keep on going. Someone forgot to tell the TMO that he was supposed to look at that one. In fact, now are they going to look at it? I think we're going to see the replay of what it was that caused his injury. It was Che Fiaki flying through. And let's go to the drawer. Says Shade. Okay, so the commentators are now saying if they just look off the ball. Yeah, it was a shoulder from Cody Taylor, in fact, rather than Che Fiaki. Bit of a dirty one, wasn't even in the breakdown. Now, don't get me wrong, Loganamasi, the way that he went down was a little bit of a Hollywood. It's going to be the penalty to the Crusaders, though. And the sad reality is, if he hadn't stayed down, they wouldn't have awarded that. And that's not where we want rugby union to have to go in the direction of. But if you're getting hit with cheap shots, if you just get up like nothing happened and play on, your team don't get the advantage, or at least get the reward for you getting hit. Cody Taylor, just a little bit of a silly play from a veteran there. Now, Zaya Armstrong, Ravola. Now, I should mention, Ponepati Loganamasi is now absolutely fine. He's got back up, he's chilling, he's happy as. But, like I said, because if he hadn't stayed down, they wouldn't have looked at that again. They would have just been play on. It's rugby, not Hollywood, says Matthew. Yeah, but that's the thing. Some sides, like, and it's not specifically anyone in particular, but sides have worked out, if you don't stay down, or if you don't act injured, you're not going to get the penalty. Like, we've seen yellow cards given for stuff like that in terms of once they've gone back to check it. But if the player got straight back up, they don't see it. So it's a bit of a interesting one. I've always supported the Fijian Drua, even though I'm from Christchurch, New Zealand. But I'll also support both teams. Go both teams, says Grant. Yeah, I feel like a lot of people's second team in Super Rugby is the Fijian Drua, just because of the intensity and the excitement that they bring to Super Rugby Pacific. Nicely taken to the back from Armstrong Ravola, sitting about 35 metres out from their own line here. The Fijian Drua, Lamani with the low pass across to Tavita Ikanaveri, who has knocked the ball on in contact. It will now be the scrum for the Crusaders. What's with the poll in favour of the Drua? The Crusaders were a classically good side, says Jameson. The reason that the Drua, I believe anyway, that people have backed them is because they beat the Chiefs only about 3 weeks ago, and they've got an impressive home record. Like, of their, I want to say at Churchill Park, they're undefeated for like 2 years. This one's not at Churchill Park, though. This is at ANZ Stadium. They might have won, with the exception of their game up against the Brumbies, I want to say they've won like 7 or so of their last 8. Like, so there's a reason that they are favourites. Don't get me wrong, Crusaders are a great side, and they're currently sitting a lot higher on the table. But yeah, in terms of the record of the Fijian Drua in Fiji, something about being in front of that home crowd seems to just take them to that next level. Let's go Crusaders. And the chat too, but Joe Tamani, just showing him on this near side. Was in France last year, so wants to have a bit of a crack here for the Fijian Drua this season. And that's the hard part. Sometimes you go overseas as an international player and you just don't get minutes. It's a big scrum, though, from the Drua. Very lucky that ball came out when it did. For Noah Hotham, nice run forward from Dallas McLeod, but he passes it into touch. He got that try on the Crusaders. Noah Hotham was the try scorer. We had a guy who was a Hollywood, the slightest knock. Used to sit on the ground, and when his mum looked at him, used to roll around like he got hit by a freight train. Says Matthew. Yeah, in the lower level stuffs, normally it doesn't get you anywhere. But when there's supposed to be so many cameras on the game, it's the only way that sometimes the TMO will look at it. my main man with the best commentary. Should be on TV, brother. Says music rots. Thank you very much, mate. It is greatly appreciated you being here again. Lamani has skew-whiffed that one off the side of the boot. Now the Crusaders have another line out, only about 25 metres out from the Fijian Drua line. Like they've just said, the Fijian Drua have to be very clinical once they do get an attacking chance, because, or else they might find themselves, I don't want to say it, but they could find themselves down by 3 or so tries if they can't get their hands on the ball just that little bit more. In fact, one of the only times that they've had the ball was after that foul play from Cody Taylor. Other than that, it's been all Crusaders. Corey Callow now breaks through the tackle attempt on Masaki Donge. Noah Hotham, I should say, going short side. Would have seemed like a better idea at the time. Now there's going to be a little knock on from the Crusaders in the breakdown as well. I believe that is against Tom Christie. He's laughing about it. They will go back now for the Drua scrum. Now they got a really good shove in the last scrum when the Crusaders had the feed. So I feel like they'll be pretty confident that they can push hard here. Maybe get a pushover penalty. Is this a full strength Crusaders side? I would say no. They're missing a few of their guys. In terms of that starting lineup anyway, like there are a few switches that they've decided to make. Sevu Reece playing at number 13 is an interesting choice. But overall, like this backline's probably not a mile off what is their strongest that they can put on the field, or at least what is the one that they put on the field the most. Of course, excluding James O'Connor, who normally makes his way off the bench. And then in terms of that 4-pack, you'd say missing Barrett is a big one, not having Tamaiti Williams or Fletcher Knowles coming off the bench. Blackadder's off the bench too. So, like, it's not quite full strength, but it's close enough, if that makes sense. It's about a 90% lineup, I would say, at the moment. And, you know, they're only missing a small few. It's funny, Australia gives more money to support Fijian Drua, but nothing to Moana Pacifica, says Shade. I think that is to do with the fact that the Fijian Drua at one point were a part of the NRC in Australia, so they're kind of tied in with that side of things, which is where that backing has come from. Whereas Moana Pacifica, they started off as more of a New Zealand-based side, so that's why it is that way. Do you get paid by YouTube, Hamish? Every once in a while, we do get some revenue from YouTube. Like I've always said, though, it just goes straight back into the channel because like Sky Sports subscriptions and streaming subscriptions are quite expensive, so we just put it back into that and have to make up the rest from my own pocket. And now Frank Lamani ready to feed this one into the scrum, and the Crusaders says 10 for who he thinks is going to win. Yeah, that's the thing. If the Crusaders can build pressure early on in this game and make the most of it, you know, score a couple more tries, I think they'll win. But if they let the Drua stay close, going down to the wire, that's when the Drua can be so dangerous. This is an up and under and slapped back by Celestino Ravotamanda, but then knocked on by Isoa Tuwai. Oh, yeah, it's really loose at the moment. Another knock on from Tabu Aval. Go the Crusaders, says Shadai. And Hawaii a bit disappointed with that one. Oh, in fact, yeah, Tavita Akinaveri just correcting the referee, saying we'd like to take that first knock on rather than the second, so moving about an extra 10 metres up the field here. As Armstrong Ravul, a lot of pressure on him to be able to perform. Has Reece played in the centres before, says Jameson. Not an absolute huge amount, like he's been out on that wing for the Crusaders for so long. I think they've tried it. I don't know if it's been in an official like starting lineup, but they have reshuffled him into the centres before. But yeah, big chance for him here to just show what he can do. So far he hasn't had the ball, but really Chaifiaki and Macca Springer haven't had a huge amount of it either. In fact, it's going to be a Crusaders scrum feed here, and that's going to be a big push again by the Drua. I think that they're getting the better of the scrums. It's just that the Crusaders are doing extremely well to get that ball out early enough that they don't have to worry about it. Macca Springer goes off to Cody Taylor. Just getting straight in the breakdown and the clean steal for the Fijian Drua. I think it was Hereti Hitit who managed to turn it over. A bit of a risky one there. And it has gone forward from Osefo Masi. And they'll go right back for yet again another scrum. Now, I should mention we are in dry conditions here, so scrums, normally we would see a lot more of them in a wet game in Fiji, but for now, it is just maybe that the two sides throwing it around a bit much, trying the miraculous stuff, rather than just going for structure. And that's the thing, FIJIAN DRUA, don't get me wrong, when they get it right, they can be one of the most unpredictable teams with ball in hand, but when they play structured, they do also score quite a few tries. I guess maybe it's just the occasion of playing the Crusaders, who are normally known for quite strong defence. Maybe that's making them a little bit hesitant with what they're doing. But we are already having the drinks break, only 17 minutes in to this contest. Now, just saying, around the halfway stage of each half, there will be a water break taking place. Now, they may even have another one near the end of the first half. Team Mira is a sign that we see in the stands. And the stands, once again, are absolutely packed for this game, which is fantastic to see. Any home game, you always see the Drua supporters turning up. You see, like, massive amounts of FIJIAN DRUA merchandise too. Everyone getting behind their sides. There are a few Crusaders supporters in the stands by the looks of it, but they are few and far between compared to that Drua support. But yeah, it is looking like a great... That guy got absolutely slapped on the shoulder by his friend as he didn't realise he was on the TV. But right, we're going back for the scrum now. It's going to be the Crusaders scrum feed about 27 metres out from the line. See whether or not they can get some sort of set piece perhaps going. I will mention this is our first of two games of Super Rugby that I am commentating today. We are also doing Blues versus Hurricanes. Alongside that, we've got plenty of sevens taking place. The first sevens match is South Africa versus Great Britain, which is supposed to be taking place after this game is finished, although it might be a little bit tight in terms of the schedules there. And then after that, we have also got later on at 9 p.m. New Zealand time, France versus Kenya, followed by Argentina versus South Africa. So a few big matches of the sevens still to come. That is not including the Fiji versus USA. Oh, nice run from Noah Hotham. Gets 10 metres out from the line. Now Severis going off quick hands here from the Crusaders, and Antonio Chalfoun is the man who pops up with the try. Crusaders now lead by 12. Okay, I think they are just wanting to check something here. The FIJIAN DRUA feel like they were taken out in the breakdown. Ben O'Keefe's score at the time was he joined, then he pulled away. You know, in the Highlanders game, we are not. No, there are about 2 or 3 games of the sevens that are going to be overlapping, covering any European matches. Says Jameson, I believe the plan at the moment will be to do Leinster versus Harlequins. I haven't scheduled it yet because it's starting at, I believe it's 2 a.m. New Zealand time. But at 2 a.m. New Zealand time, we're actually going back an hour. So I believe that's actually the equivalent of 3 a.m. New Zealand time. Like, until we go back. So I'm a little bit confused at when it starts, which is why I haven't scheduled it yet, because I'm trying to work out the exact time to be able to schedule it for, so that we don't end up with some sort of, like, massive mistake. And go, boys, says Tian. But now ready to kick this one off for Kamara. Does miss away to the side. The score will remain at 12 points to 0 in favour of the Crusaders. Try time for the Crusaders, says Matthew. Yeah, and they have now struck twice in this first half. Good quick hands from the forwards. I think that was actually 4. So that would have been Cahill to Kello to Chalfoun as the finish. And that is a brilliant kick downfield from the Crusaders, probably making about 50 plus metres from that kick. Hey, Hamish says, Brandon Game, welcome in, mate. Hope you are doing well. Now Tavita Ikanaveri, ready to throw this one in. And it just seems to be that the Crusaders, anytime they've got the ball inside of their own half, they're just getting rid of it straight away. They do not want to risk the Drua being able to get that line break and the chance of not being able to catch them, but it's going to be slapped back. I heard of someone falling for an April Fool's joke this week. where he was made to write an apology letter. Some road worker for busting a water pipe from doing jumping jacks was your street. Says JD, it wasn't my street, no. Now, I don't even know where the pipes are. That's going to be a great run from Jay Fiaki, goes through. And just like that, the Crusaders have got themselves another one. And they are just talking about the Fijian roots of Jay Fiaki. And it's going to be beautifully done. Now 3 tries coming in quick succession. I got some news. Do you want to hear? Go for it, Brandon. But just Dallas McLeod with a skip pass going out to Will Jordan. He saw the gap, saw the opportunity to get it on the outside to Fiaki, who just cut back inwards. Couple missed tackles from the Fijian Drua did not help. And they score it again. 3rd for the season, 8th for his career. And mean tries for the Crusaders, says Matthew. Yeah, those are the type of tries that really hurt the Fijian Drua. The one that comes pretty much straight after the last one did. You just can't really afford to have too many of those before the halftime break. That kick from Kamara has missed away to the side. Could you possibly do Highlanders game instead of the Hurricanes game? No, unfortunately. Just because of the Hurricanes-Blues game, there are no overlaps with certain games of the Sevens that we want to cover. But then the Highlanders versus Western Force game has, I believe, 3 overlaps with different Sevens matches that we are doing on the channel, or at least 2. So that's more of the reasoning behind it. It's not because I'm picking Blues Hurricanes like match-wise in terms of like who's playing, but more so just schedule-wise. But we will be giving updates throughout those Sevens ones of what the score is for the Highlanders versus Force game, including that Fiji versus USA game, which has taken place in the second half. They're going back for a scrum now. There was a knock-on from the Fijian Drua again. And Drua no good today, says Anoy. Yeah, they've just struggled to get possession, is the basics of it. They've had so much attack coming at them from this Crusaders side, and they've just hardly had the ball. And when they do have it, it's only been a couple phases, and then there's a handling error or something that stops the momentum. I went with while I am home. She's still there. I'm a bit worried. So the cops have shown up at your house, Brandon? Is that what you're saying? Well, you shouldn't be worried unless you've done something wrong. Crusaders kick is just so bad, says Highlanders. Yeah, I mean, he got his first kick over, and it was actually the hardest kick that he's had of the day. Sorry, bro, I'm not sure I've tuned in for one of your Super Rugby streams before. What New Zealand team do you support? I don't actually really have a side, if I'm being honest. Like, if I had to pick which kit I like the most, it would probably be the Hurricanes, just because I don't mind a bit of yellow, as some of you will know from the channel, but I'm pretty impartial between them. Rolling this one back. I should also mention, you mentioned about the Champions Cup. We are also going to be doing the Challenge Cup game between the Sharks and Lyon tomorrow at 4:30 a.m. What can one say? Crusaders, the Champions team. Draw just in their 4 years. Are going as expected. No surprises. Go Super Rugby, go. Says Sikula. How's the crowd today? Ref today. Ben O'Keefe, I think, has been doing all right so far. Crowd is full, as it normally is for a afternoon game in Fiji. Cody Taylor goes across to Tom Christie. Had a bit of a fumble of it, but gets it back to Taha Kamara. Now nicely taken. I'm back across to the right-hand side. Celestino Ravotamanda. Oh, he's been taken out by Corey Callow, I believe. It's an awkward bouncing ball, but it's gone back into the hands of the Fijian Drua again. Now the turnover was good, I think. Oh, yes. It has popped out on the side of the Crusaders. I thought Lamani almost managed to get it straight back. Doing Moana Pacifica play in Tonga this year. I think they might have one game in Tonga. How was the ref? He's done all right so far, Ben O'Keefe. We had one where they went upstairs to the TMO, but overall, I don't think he's actually had to make too many calls in terms of penalties. It's been more so knock-ons. Oh, and there is a penalty now for side entry. A little bit of a push there from Tamani, telling the youngster KL to get out of it. Wins the Canes one. They are playing at 7:05 up against the Blues, so a big one in that regard. Why not like 50-50 games in Tonga? says Highlanders. So you saying 50% of games in Tonga, 50% of games in Samoa? Highlanders. We have got their read at message before this one, but I just read that one. So I've broken the chain. I haven't been out all week, but my wife been out on Tuesday. So what did she do on Tuesday without me? It sounds like some sort of activities, doesn't it? Toulouse versus Sharks will be a good one. Says Jameson. Toulouse versus, that's Sale Sharks, isn't it? The game, that's prior, if I'm not wrong. I think that's at 2 a.m. New Zealand time. See, it's a bit of that's a drop ball from Kamara. It's a bit of an annoying one because the Challenge Cup games aren't being shown here in New Zealand. So even just covering that Sharks Lyon one, like the Champions Cup is, which is fantastic. And we're going to be doing a lot more Champions Cup from the quarterfinals onwards. Just because this weekend we've also got the 7, so it's made it a bit more tricky. But like that Sharks versus Lyon game, I am going to, I think it's like 15 New Zealand dollars just to watch it here if I have a VPN set to somewhere else. So it's going to be an expensive competition, that Challenge Cup, if we end up covering it quite a bit on the channel, if they're charging $15 a game. And tie game 14-14, says Kiwi Rob. Not 50 in Tonga, 50 in Fiji. Australia and New Zealand. So you're saying Moana Pacifica, but they're also from Samoa, so you got to have some Samoan games. You got to give Artie Savia his homecoming, don't you? If she's not home in the next 44 minutes, I called them, says Brandon Game. Now sitting 13 minutes remaining. The Crusaders are currently in a position of a bonus point. But that can all change. 3 or more than your opposition. Yeah, true. They'll make it hard for them. Says Highlanders. Now, Kuravuli. About to put this ball in. I'm not too sure. Oh, in fact, I know what happened to Frank Lamani. It looked like in that other breakdown where he tried to go for the steal, he actually hurt his arm. So they've decided to make that change early. And when you're working with a 6-2 split, the last thing that you want is to have to make those early changes to your backs. Now, Karawalevu, though, this is the first attacking chance for the Fijian Drua in an extremely long time within the Crusaders 22. They have to make the most of it. Kuravoli going back across to Vothi. Crusaders trying to get into every breakdown and work towards that turnover. Tavita Ikanaveri. Now Kuravoli goes back across to Armstrong. Ravola rush defense on him. Now Kuravoli again. Going to Asoa Nasila. And other are going to the next Blues home game. So our next out for me. Hang on, Hamish. Is that the European Challenge Cup you are talking about? It is. So the Champions Cup is on Sky. The Challenge Cup round of 16 sadly is not. Or at least it wasn't when I checked on Friday, I believe it was. And Crusaders showing Roy how to play in Suva, Fiji, humidity and heat. Yeah, it looks like it is quite a humid. I think it's supposed to be about 30 degrees at the game. So both sides do look like they're starting to feel it a little bit. 28 minutes in at the moment. And yeah, it just pops out. But it just shows how many stoppages that we've had. That we're sitting about, I think it's 35 minutes after kickoff. And we're still only 29 minutes in. So, of course, water breaks will cause a few more stoppages. It sounds like Ben O'Keefe is trying to hurry them along. But Cody Taylor, a little bit of medical attention. He is all good, though. The crowd watching on with anticipation that the Drua are going to be able to get themselves something soon. Unfortunately, there's just been a few too many instances where they have given up possession a bit too easy. In this case, now the Crusaders have got themselves the scrum feed. It is put in. Now starts to go sideways. Christian Leo Willie pops it up onto the short side for Che Fiaki, who will kick it in behind. There is a bit of space there. Karawalevu has to cut back across. And he will kick this one from inside of his 22. Down towards the Crusaders 22. A very good kick from Karawalevu. About 40 metres out from the Crusaders line. Doesn't look hugely impressed with where they've said that ball went out, as felt he maybe got a few more metres than they gave him. Now another line-out throw for Cody Taylor. That's the thing. If all stolen by the Fijian Drua, I was about to say, if the Drua can score before half-time, they're still well and truly in this game. But if the Crusaders score again, it would almost be too much of a comeback for the Drua to be able to make. Although if they channel a little bit of their fellow Pacific Islanders, Moana Pacifica, and what they were able to do in the second half, they scored 38 points up against the Waratahs. Tars just scoring 7 in that second half. A big run from Joe Tamani, tackled by Tom Christie. Big across to this left, Ravatamunda. Two-man tackle on him by Leo Willie and also Cahill. Now Tom Christie looking for another turnover, unable to do so. Armstrong, Ravula going in behind to, inside ball to Boavau. It goes too far out in front of Kuravoli. Now the Crusaders clearing their line yet again, sitting up for Celestino, Ravotamanda, Osifumasi. Another good tackle, big clean out, knock on though comes for the Drua again. Their handling is heavily letting them down throughout this first half. Glenn Jackson just shaking his head. At the end of the day, the coaches can only do so much in terms of tactics and everything, but the players are the ones who have to hold on to the ball. And unfortunately, that is something that has been a bit of a rarity in this match for the Drua. A question I've always wondered, how commentators know all the players' names. Do you know everyone's name? Do you learn their names and recall them at will? Says Music Rock. So, yeah, normally by this stage of the season, it's only normally 1 or 2 weeks where I'm a little bit confused about some of the new guys. But because we've done so many seasons, you know who most of the players are. And then from there, you've got those other guys who are brought in that you slowly learn along the way. But it's just from looking at the lineups. I think that the commentators, at least for the sevens, I know, and I think maybe it's the same for Union, they normally have their notes in front of them with player names, a few stats about them, plus they've got the ones in their ears letting them know every once in a while the kind of relevant stats. But we're not quite that professional. We just look at names, try and remember them, and then say them during the game. Crusaders will win this draw, not up to the standards, dropping the ball, etc. Says YouTube user. But now big scrum coming from the Crusaders. They have got themselves the penalty advantage at scrum time. Cross kick from Dallas McLeod, dropped by Macca Springer. So we have to go right back for the original one. Be about 46 metres out from the line, but I don't think the Crusaders are at all going to be considering the 3 points here. I think they will instead kick for the quarter and try and keep that pressure on. And Cold Hamish says, Blues Nate, welcome in, mate. Hope you're doing extremely well. A man with Crusaders fan. And with a thumbs down as well. He's not happy with what's happened with his team at the moment. And that one's going to go into touch. Sitting about 20 metres out from the line. I think that maybe the Crusaders, I'm just looking at how they're set up. Macca Springer is way off to the side. Who's these random people's boss? Says Blues Nate. And kia ora, Blues Nate says Matthew in there. Now Cody Taylor. You need to throw this one in. Wait, did you say the Drua put on more than 30 in the second half in this season? No, that was Moana Pacifica just recently, like about 2 hours ago. They were down 21 points to 7 at halftime. Went on to win that game, I believe it was 45 to 28. But that will give a side like the Fijian Drua a little bit of hope. Another knock on, this time from Sevu Reese, who since moving to centre we have hardly seen throughout this first half. Although with the amount of handling errors from both of these sides, it's made it very difficult to get more than a couple phases. That ball's going to be kicked out. I'll go back for the Fijian Drua scrum. But now 5 minutes remaining in this first half. The humidity may be playing a bit of a factor, Chuma, bro. Says the Blues, Nate Blues scored. Says Kiwi Rob, at the moment the position is 53% for the Crusaders, 57% in their favour for territory 2. And their meters made, only 99 for the draw, 175 for the Crusaders. They've had 5 clean breaks compared to the 1 of the drawer. Honestly, those stats, with the exception of those clean breaks, we haven't really seen a lot of running of the ball just because of the handling. But it's going to be a free kick in favour of the draw. They take the quick tap and do send it downfield towards the touchline. A good team try. There's Kiwi Rob. Now 45 metres out from their own line. The Crusaders are going to have themselves the line out. You can see a few All Blacks and Crusaders lineup. Says YouTube user. And go Blues women, says Matthew. Of course, the men's side going to be playing later on. We are going to be covering that one on the channel in 1 hour 45 minutes time. So anyone who is new, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Before then, though, we have got a match-up taking place between Great Britain and South Africa in the sevens. We are hoping to be able to squeeze that one in relatively smoothly, although it might be a bit of a frantic rush to get it ready. Let's go Crusaders, says Blues Nate. Now Noah Hotham with the possession on the halfway line. Crusaders once again told to use it. They will kick it high. Chasing after this is Macca. Springer doesn't take it cleanly, and instead Armstrong Ravola gets a free grab at it. Dallas McLeod couldn't quite get his hands on the ball. On the foot, Taylor. Now, I assume that is Taylor Cahill that they are talking to, or it could be Cody Taylor. But either way, neither of them charged it down. Kick towards the sideline. Oh, bit of a collision there in the air. It's going to go against Dallas McLeod for hitting Celestino Ravotamanda. Crusaders the best team in Super Rugby. Says Tian. Now Armstrong Ravoli. He will be kicking this one towards the sideline here. Like they're saying, they've had to work hard to even get a penalty in this contest. He was certainly showing intent with that chase. Dallas McLeod just getting himself over near the touchline and stepping into his line. Now, line out throw. Tavita Ikanaveri goes over the top. Cody Taylor has dropped the ball at the back of the line out. It's going to be play on. Vofe with a penalty, a knock-on advantage. And now Kello gets in the breakdown. It isn't able to get the steal. Okay, it sounds like the advantage now for the knock-on is over. Tavita Ikanaveri, and now they've knocked it on themselves. Which means now the Crusaders are going to have themselves the scrum. That was very close for the draw. There is frustration from the players. I think Ikanaveri is just saying he's played the ball from an illegal position, referee. Denny McLeod says, Lynn, you've obviously watched the Crusaders career mode. Yeah, I don't know where that came from George, but like I said, anytime you put a microphone in front of George, you don't know what you're going to get. You have to censor quite a bit normally. We've seen 11 handling errors between these two sides for the first 38 minutes. Yeah, looks like maybe it was even his own teammate who forced the ball out of that breakdown in that case, and it is now going to be the scrum, like I said. And Robert, another one who I do know, watches those rugby ones. Half-time 21 points to 14 for the Blues, says Kiwi Rob. Currently 1 minute remaining. Crusaders are deep inside of their own area, so I would say unless they get a penalty here, they may look to just boot this ball out. They don't really need to prove too much more. Cake of soap. Feast. We said Sevu can be a 13, says Shane. Well, he's only hit the ball once, or maybe twice. So I don't think he can be completely to blame for it. Like, he touched the ball, he dropped it. That's about it. Crusaders play as a team while the draw plays on individual skills. Not as a team. Draw is still learning a lot from very senior teams. The early close losses had no impact on draw learning phase, says C. Every time you have George on, I'm constantly laughing, says Matthew. Yeah, he's definitely unpredictable. And draw loose, there's Deshango. And now the draw have got themselves the possession about 25 metres out from the Crusaders line. If they can score right on the verge of halftime, that would be absolutely huge for their confidence heading into the second half. Taboaval going across to Armstrong Ravola. Nice step coming from Ponepati Logramasi. And will come back stronger in the second half, says YouTube user. Now a big run from Taveta Ikanaveri again. Looks like it could be the clean steal. Yes, it is for Cody Taylor. That is the last thing that the draw wanted. Right, we are after the halftime siren. I would think that the smart move here is to just kick this ball out. The players do look exhausted. Unpredictable, you're being kind. And Crusaders 1A. Oh! They're taking a shot here. Sheifiaki from 65 metres out. What is the point of this? I mean, I guess it's an option. They are working on the theory that the draw will just kick this ball out. But Sheifiaki from 65 metres out in front, he's way closer to his own goal line than he is the opposition's. But this is going to be a huge kick. Hopefully he doesn't blow his knee from trying to line this one up. Have the draw beaten the Crusaders before? I believe they did beat them 2 years ago, it might have been. Or maybe even last year. But first kick of the match for Sheifiaki. Like I said, from 65 metres out. This is going to be a tough kick to nail. Is he going to get the distance? Strikes it clean. Strikes it well. And he just misses it away to the left. He had the distance by an extra maybe 5 or 10 metres. But he misses it to the side. It is still going to be half-time. 17 points to 0. He's dreaming, says Shane. I don't think anyone expected him to be able to get it, like the distance, though. It was just his accuracy that was slightly lacking. Good humour on that 65-metre kick. Says YouTube, you're doing great pronouncing the name. Says Chris and Jetty, thank you very much. It's ironic, isn't it, that I just mispronounced Chris when I said that, but yeah, thank you very much. Why the hell are we listening to Aussie commentary team for a Kiwi game? Says Kiwi Rob. I think it is just down to Stan Sport having broadcasters in Fiji, like they've gone over for it since it is, I guess, a little bit easier. Mash that, says Bill, and that's massive, says Jameson. Okay, great effort, says Shane. But yeah, halftime in this contest, it is 17-0 in favour of the Crusaders. Now, I should mention, in about 23 minutes, it's an hour and 6 minutes time. In fact, less than that. We'll try that again. We'll just act like that never happened. In 63 minutes time, the matchup between Great Britain and South Africa is happening in the 7th. So we have to hope for a pretty smooth running second half, or else we might be slightly late to that next stream. I can kick about 6.5. I'm about the same, Bill. We did have a kicking video ages ago, or at least a little clip that went onto the channel on one of the live streams. That was very long ago. Some of you guys might remember it, how we were kicking a giant inflatable ball at one point. We were talking about Andre Pollard and Geordie Barrett for their kicking accuracy, so we were doing a live demonstration, which I then blew a hamstring. Yeah, second half will be very interesting because these two sides, the good news for them is I don't think they'll be as fatigued as they could have been, which sounds weird to say, but the fact that they did have so many handling errors meant that we had so many scrums, which every time the scrum got set, it was about a 30-minute rest, so I think the backs will still be relatively fresh. Maybe the forwards, not so much, but yeah, the front rows are probably the hardest workers out there on the field at the moment due to the amount of scrums that they have had to partake in. So that's something to think about. I think that both sides might consider making the early switch in the second half. Moananu, Sykes Martin, and Fletcher Null as the three for the Crusaders. And then for the draw, they have got Tongyatama, Tanieri, and also Samu Tawaki. So decent options on the bench. And honestly, the forward replacements as well, Rotui Solia, Miramira, and Antonio Wanga, all will be able to add their own impact to this contest too. And then also Kuravuli already making his way onto the field. That was due to the injury of Frank Lamani. Not too sure of the extent of said injury as of yet. Looked like some sort of arm injury when he went into a breakdown to try and get possession back. And looks like it went slightly wrong for him. And also for anyone wondering about what is next for these two sides. We actually also have that. We've been super prepared today, but look at that. Highlanders versus Fijian Drua. That will be taking place in Dunedin, and that is on the Saturday, 12th of April. Their game after that will be up against the Waratahs. And then, honestly, one of the matches that I think have the most anticipation of the Super Rugby latest stage of the season is Moana Pacifica taking on the Fijian Drua. Those two sides are incredibly unpredictable. Moana Pacifica slowly climbing the table. I should mention at the moment, they're actually sitting 6th. So, very impressive from Moana. Fijian Drua and the Blues both sitting there on the 7 points at the bottom of the bunch. But that game between Moana Pacifica and the Fijian Drua, it is happening at North Harbour Stadium, which I wish it was taking place in Samoa, Tonga, but they've decided to go with that North Harbour one yet again, as that is considered the home for Moana Pacifica this year for the Crusaders. Their next game will be up against the Hurricanes. That is taking place on the Friday night. Crusaders versus Blues, and then Highlanders versus Crusaders. So 3 New Zealand derbies coming up for the Crusaders over the next 3 weeks. So quite a tough patch of the season they are up to, but they'll be looking forward to more challenging games and just slowly working their way towards a playoff game, because they missed out last year. We've got to remember they were not included in those quarterfinals, which felt really strange. But now they're working their way towards it. Or were they in the quarterfinals? Who'd they get beaten by in the... I completely forgot. Super Rugby 2024. Who'd they play in the quarters if they made it? See the Super Rugby table from last year. No, sorry, they were 9th. The Rebels took their spot. That's right. And now the Rebels aren't a thing. We have got their Moana. Wouldn't lie down. Waz, let them win, says Shane. Moana going back-to-back wins today. Artie was on fire. Yeah, he's changed Moana Pacifica, not just for like what's happening on the field, but the mindset of the players off it. And I know at the start of the season, when they were still losing games, there were quite a few people pretty much just chiming in and saying, oh, one player's not going to change the way Moana play. But now, I think it can't be denied that this Moana Pacifica side, even though its first halves are still shocking, but second halves, they just play like a team possessed. And, you know, they've beaten some great sides throughout this season. Not many sides beat the Crusaders at home by the margin that they did. And, you know, like, it just seems to be that even those younger guys for Moana Pacifica are now stepping up. You've got the midfield combo of Tuala and Pipesana Patafilo just seem to be finding their rhythm. You've got Kieran Tumafalau out on the wing, who's been looking impressive, and William Havili with a bit of skill in there too. G'day Hamish, might sound weird, but I reckon the Drua have a shot at running this one down if they click and cruise gas like they've done before in Fiji, says Studs Rays. Well, that's the thing. I do think that the Crusaders do still need at least one more try if they want to win. And if they had scored it in the first half, I think that I would have said there wasn't a chance of much of a comeback. But, like, I don't necessarily disagree with you. I think that if the Fijian Drua can go out and just completely change how they were playing and just hang on to the ball that little bit more, far too many handling errors throughout that first 40. But if they can get that right and they can start putting phases together, this Crusaders side will find some more pressure that they haven't been under. And still 40 minutes left. It's a long game. Definitely in the heat. Heat can affect the players differently. The Fijian Drua guys are used to it. That is why they've had so many wins in Fiji, as well as the atmosphere at the games, the crowd geeing them up, taking them to that next level. And, you know, 2 quick fire tries for the Drua within 15 minutes. They're well and truly in this game. But they have to do it. Come on, Drua, win 31 points to 28. Says Demon the 11th, I should say. Yeah, either way, there's still a lot of smiles on the face of the Drua crowd. We'll get that one more try or kick conversions. And 31 points to 35, says James Speed. Yeah, there's still a lot of points out there on that field for 40 more minutes, but they have to get it right. Right, we'll mention, where is it? We're probably only about 5 minutes away from the start of the second half. Artie building Moana into the new Hurricanes, says Blues Nate. But yeah, I feel like he was another guy that wanted to just prove people wrong, because a lot of people said he was wasting his time going to Moana Pacifica, saying that, you know, he should be either playing in New Zealand or going overseas. But he said, no, I like Moana Pacifica. And it's just a bit of a shame that Julian Savia isn't playing as well. Just because, like, those two on the same side would have been awesome. Like, Julian, of course, would be playing if he wasn't injured. But, yeah, like, it's a really interesting one for the Moana Pacifica story at the moment in terms of where they've come from to where they are now. And I do think that the Fijian Drua are a side that can have that same sort of success. But the biggest problem that they've had, I believe anyway, is anytime they find a superstar, France calls and go, hey, we're going to take that guy. So, like, you look at Vinaya Habossi, you look at a few of the forwards as well that end up going overseas because of, getting offered that good money. But, yeah, it's an interesting one. Like, the Drua are literally feeding the overseas competitions with their skilled players, which is great in some regards. But also it means that the Drua do suffer a little bit while they're trying to build up that next talent. But Rico, who's defensively sound on Colby head-to-head at Eden Park, since we've got 13 covered now, says Shane. I don't see any threat from Drua at the moment, pure pathetic Drua. Says, right, my balls. It's just handling at the moment, I think, is the biggest one. If they're able to hang on to that ball a little bit more. I think they've made a bit of a mistake with Sky. I've just watched the same movie trailer 3 times in a row. Have someone clicked like the repeat button, or is it my one playing up? Right, now we've got Rico Ioane on the screen. So I think it's back to normal. And Agree Bro says Nix. Yeah, second half, getting close. The 6-2 split of the Fijian Drua, I will mention, could backfire on them because they have gone with only the 2 backs, and one of them has already made his way onto the field, that being Kuravuli, and that was for the injury of Frank Lamani, which hopefully isn't going to be too serious. But yeah, in terms of, I actually do have that other thing. There we go. These are the matches next week, ladies and gentlemen, just in the full entirety. I mentioned about the Fijian Drua game up against the Highlanders and the Crusaders playing the Hurricanes, but also that night we have got Waratahs taken on none other than the Chiefs, top of the table. Chiefs at this stage. Reds versus Brumbies, the Australian derby, and then Blues Moana Pacifica. It's going to be a slightly earlier kickoff on the Saturday. Next week, we're also going to be covering the quarterfinals of the Champions Cup too. So plenty of action still to come in that comp. But there may be some of the Challenge Cup as well, depending on which sides do advance forward. Now we've got, just doing the maths again, 53 minutes until the start of that South Africa versus Great Britain game. I'm nervous that we're not going to make it, ladies and gentlemen, in terms of time-wise. We need a smooth, flowing second half, no TMOs, 1 drinks break we will allow for a couple minutes, of course, but nothing too major, and we should get through. Crusaders just playing a simple game with more territory. Yeah, they're just kicking it downfield, and the Drua are making mistakes inside of their own half, which then gives the Crusaders the opportunity to attack. Well, a Fiji fan says Sai in there welcoming. I believe they are just about to interview the coaches. Glenn Jackson, I assume wouldn't be too happy with what has happened in that first half from his side. But rugby's a weird game. Look at Moana Pacifica. They were down 21 points to 7 at halftime. They came back and they won that game by a comfortable margin. So it can happen. You just need it to go your way a little bit. Hi, Kiwi lads, I'm late. Smell and oil. My face black like charcoal. Hi, everyone. Says Spider Meet the Woman back on the field and underway. Says Kiwi Rob and go the Crusaders. Says Tyrone in there as well. But they are just talking to Tim Simpson. Okay. Pretty much the simplicity of what he said is if we hang on to the ball, chances will come in the second half. Perfect. So that is the mindset that they have to try and work with. And, if they can cut down, I'd say 5 of those handling errors. Like, if you end up taking that out of the equation, it's a good chance. A lot of supporters, like I said, in the stands. And a lot of these people, I would assume, will be heading home after this game to enjoy some Fijian sevens. They did finish 4th in the last competition. Just around the corner, they have got their game up against the USA And following that one, they will be playing in the New Zealand versus Fiji match. And go the Crusaders, says Tyrone. And also, good afternoon, Peter Parker, says Blues Nate. And there as well. But I would say we're only moments away from both sides making their way out of the tunnel. Of course, they'll be enjoying the cold as much as they can before having to go back out there in the 30-plus degree heat. Crowd are absolutely loving it by the looks of it. It is great to see. So much support for this FIJIAN DRUA side. The crowd are cheering, which I assume means the team have made their way back out of the tunnel. They're currently down by the 17. Quite a substantial margin to make up. But it's doable. The thing is, early try. That is all the Fijians need. If they can get a try early, momentum shifted. And in fact, if they can score 2 within the 15 minutes, like I mentioned, they are in for a great shot going on to win this game. And cheer, are you sure it's car oil, bro, not an electric oil? Says Matthew, but both sides making their way back out of the tunnel here now. Crusaders with Moananu, looks like he is he going to be starting the second half maybe? I know that Cody Taylor looked a little bit slow getting up for the end of the first half, so maybe that is why Moananu will be just starting here rather than taking the risk of Taylor. So Nasila looking focused, same with Armstrong, Ravula. Such an important 40 minutes here for the FIJIAN DRUA. Okay, Osefo Masi is the captain for the Drua by the sounds of it. They were just asking the question of who was actually going to be in charge of the side. What happened to Upsalomi Vota? I believe did he go overseas or did he get injured? It's one of those two. It normally is the case for the FIJIAN DRUA squad. It's either you've gone overseas. I think he's injured though at the moment. And let's go. Oh, let's Fijian go. Says Jameson there. I don't want the draw to win. I want the draw to win, but it's a big ass. Draw is not Moana. Says Spider Meg, but now Kuravoli. Inside of his own 22. Just has to kick the ball into touch for the start of the second half. If the draw want any chance, they cannot concede again. One more try, I think, would be the difference maker. Moananu throwing the ball into Antonio Shelthune. Tom Christie breaks away, goes off to Kamara, and that number 10 jersey. Now drop ball from Shea Fiaki, knocked on by the drawer too. So we will have our first scrum of the second half, and it only took 40 seconds, but it was Shea Fiaki who had the first drop. Right, referee pretty much trying to speed them along. Lamani on the reserve. Lamani was starting, but he ended up with an injury. I think it was his arm. When he tried to join a breakdown, got it twisted the wrong way. So, yeah, Kuravoli now on the field. Where does it split the Crusaders if they win, says Ed. So currently for the Crusaders, they are sitting in, I believe it is third. I'll just have a quick look. Make sure that's the case. Yep, so they're third at the moment. A win here with a bonus point would put them up to second. And even a win without the bonus point would put them above the Reds due to points differential. And now, 90 seconds into this half. And like I said, we're already dealing with a scrum, which I believe we will see quite a bit throughout this one. So far, we've seen 12 scrums in that first half and also a scrum reset. Both sides have retained all of their scrums. The Crusaders have won one penalty from their own. But now, Kuravoli going back across to the right-hand side to Taboaval. Now, Kuravoli again shifts it across to Armstrong Ravula. Trying to play with a bit of width here. The FIJIAN DRUA, good leg strength from Karawa Levu. Gets rid of Tom Christie. Off to the left-hand side again. So Nasila, no advantage coming the way of the FIJIAN DRUA. Short ball from Armstrong Ravula. Oh, it's a hard landing for the Crusaders forward. Kuravoli. No, Otham's done extremely well to hold him up there, so they will go back. Moana 6 is crazy, says Kirsten. Yeah, big win. Or Kristen, I should say. Yeah, massive gain for them. They were sitting, I believe it was 9th going into this round, and now they're already up at the top 6. Now, the chance is they could drop to about 8th by the end of this round. But it would still be massive for them to already, at this point in time anyway, be close to the playoffs. Armstrong Ravola, they have decided that they will kick this one towards the touchline here for the FIJIAN DRUA. 3-pointers aren't really going to do it for them at the moment. When you're down by 17, you do need tries, and they do need them in quick succession. Just to put that pressure back on, Tongi Otama, he has made his way onto the field. That is for Tavira Ikanaviri. So both sides actually opting to make the change in that number 2 jersey. Now that's going to be popped back onto the side of the DRUA. Armstrong Ravola goes to Taboa Val, tackled by his opposite number, Dallas McLeod. Kuravuli going across now to Tamani. Hotham trying to get in the breakdown. In fact, that time it was Moananu. Now Karawa Levu trying to get a couple extra meters. A tackle was made. Kello has to get out of it. Attack and run from side 2Y. Back to the right again. Armstrong Ravola almost went through, but Bauer makes a good spot tackle. Now Ravatamanda, short ball to Masi. This is the best attacking chance we have seen of the half, and in fact the whole game for the FIJIAN DRUA. They have also got the penalty advantage now. Kuravoli going back across to Armstrong Ravola. Had a fumble of the ball, but it sits up for Taboa Val again, and they'll go back for the penalty again. The DRUA lucky to put 3 points on the board. Says Spider Mick, it seems to be a very slow game. It is due to the handling. We've seen a lot of drop balls from both sides. I think we've seen 13 scrums now, so it's always going to halt momentum quite a bit when you're hoping to see a fast-paced contest. I've not watched a lot of Super Rugby, but surprised to hear the Reds are second. Is Aussie Rugby back on the come-up? I feel bad every time I say this, but they are second, but they're not, if that makes sense. Like, when you compare who they've played compared to a lot of other teams, the reason they're second is because they've beaten a lot of the teams in the bottom 5. Like, they've beaten the Western Force twice in 2 of their wins. They beat Moana Pacifica before Moana Pacifica started to find their rhythm. They have beaten a New Zealand side. They beat the Highlanders by 6, but then they were also beaten by the Crusaders by 14 and the Chiefs by 10. So I do think that, yes, they're second, but by the end of the season, they won't be, which sounds harsh. And they are a good side, but, yeah, they just haven't had the same path as some of those other sides near the top, if that makes sense. Now, Moananu, ready to throw this one in. Turnovers conceded is 9-9 in this match. The Crusaders are only good because of how many All Blacks are in there playing 11. Where did the other 4 players go? Now going off to the short side here, Tamani. Sitting there, Kuravoli. Pops the ball up. Now Kuravoli again. Going off to the left-hand side. Good attack and run from Taboa Val. Now Thana Kaivata. Good explanation. Thanks, says Jameson. Yeah, so I think that they'll still be top 6, don't get me wrong. Maybe even top 4, but yeah, I think they've got a few more challenging games to come later on in the season. Nice offload. It's going to be loose. Armstrong Ravola picks it up, and they will go back for another penalty advantage and a double blow of the whistle here from Ben O'Keefe. He's getting sick of the infringements from the Crusaders. All for offsides. The structure of Super Rugby kind of helps Oz teams qualify. If the Reds or the Brumbies get into the top 3 home finals, they got a shot. See the Suds race? Yeah, I definitely wouldn't want to play the Brumbies in a playoff game at GIO Stadium. Looks like the DRUA once again are going to opt to just go for a tap and go. Looks like Masaki Donga is the man who, I don't know whether you'd say it's drawing the short story, probably absolutely loves to throw himself at the opposition. Great work from Christian Leo Willie, almost turned it into a maul. That ball's bounced out the side. Fletcher Knowles dove on it, and the ball's popped onto the side of the Crusaders. Now Hotham on across to Tom Christie, but getting straight in there. Breakdown for the FIJIAN DRUA, but they don't get that turnover. 28 points to 14. What a side it was. Fraser McWright sitting on the ground, head spinning while the Chiefs forwards scored a try last night. Says Glenn, that one's going to be kicked into touch. Now only about 25 metres out from the line. The DRUA will once again have another attacking chance. Yeah, that ball's just popped out on the ground. See, that's That's probably a little bit unlucky for the Drua. Looking at that one, I think that the player for the Crusaders had a bit to do with that ball getting knocked out, but that would have been playing it on the ground. We've seen 12 handling errors between the sides in this match, more handling than penalties at this point. Now Kuravoli goes across to Armstrong Ravula. 32 minutes remaining. Kuravoli going up to Asoa Nasilasila. Across to the right, the Drua need to find a way through. Great hands from Osefo Masi. What an offload. That is flicked around the back. And the Crusaders once again have got the advantage against them. Celestino Ravotamunda trying to get through Will Jordan. He's decided to hold him up. First knock on was by the Crusaders. So again, we will have another scrum. Why play at North Harbour Stadium? That is just where the Moana Pacifica side have got their home games now. I'd like to think there will be one game in Tonga or one game in Samoa this year, but I'm not actually sure when that has taken place. Where do they play the Brumbies? They play the Brumbies at Navigation Home Stadium. They play the Drua at North Harbour Stadium. And they play the Blues at North Harbour. Yeah, so they don't actually have any games in the Pacific Islands. So I don't know whether or not that's a revenue side of things to try and get more here. But I would like to see them go back to the islands every once in a while. Because Auckland FC complained about having to share their field. Says Kiwi Rob. I think it was more so why there rather than in the Pacific Islands. And those ball skills out there. See Sevens this weekend. There certainly is. We've actually got a game of the Sevens taking place in around 40 minutes time, and that will be the game between the Blitzboks and Great Britain. We're hoping to squeeze that in, but if this game runs long, it's going to be quite a tricky one to jump over to, but hopefully we will be able to do it. Going off to the left-hand side here now for Ilia Thanakaivata. Kuravoli popping it up to the replacements, Ariel Tongiatama. Crusaders have to make sure that they don't give away another penalty in the breakdown or for being offside, because or else then they could find themselves going to the bin. Good two-man tackle on Joe Tamani. I do see Levi Amua has also made his way onto the field, ladies and gents. I believe that would be for Dallas McLeod. Now back to the left again. Armstrong Ravula goes to Celestino Ravatamunda, off to Asoana Silasila, and another handling error from the Drua. Big kick from Will Jordan. Getting the bounce of the ball towards the sideline. Won't be a 50-22, but Karawa Levu. We have to kick this one into touch, and it is a massive territory gain again for the Crusaders. The Kiwi lads doing the Sevens next. CS Blues, Nate. Yeah, so we are going to be squeezing in South Africa versus GB. And then from there we go on to the matchup between Blues and Hurricanes. Then straight after that we're doing France versus Kenya, Argentina versus South Africa, Fiji versus USA, and then Fiji versus New Zealand. I believe those are all the games of the Sevens today. It is a shortened competition as well for the Sevens side of things. Rather than the regular 4 teams in a group, it's only 3. As a men's and women's, they are both taking place, yes. But yeah, shortened competition, so you've only got 3 teams each group, which means that whoever is top of the group after their 2 games goes straight to the semi-finals. I really don't like the format, I'll be honest, but it's what they're doing again. Busy schedule, Hammy? It is, but it's not as busy as it could have been, if that makes sense. So, like, it's not too bad. Noah Hotham now going off to Kuravoli. Oh, landing on the ground hard was Kuravoli there. The last thing that they want is another halfback injury. Sever Reese goes for the pick and go around the side of the breakdown. Stevens is really going downhill, I'm sorry. But it is cooked, says Demon. Now 25 metres out from the line. Big shot coming in on Taylor Cahill. He's actually lost his headgear for the second half. Probably decided it was getting far too hot with it on. Big run from Christian Leo. Oh, that's an illegal clean out from Moananu. Now, Ben O'Keefe said you've jumped out of it, which might be correct, but he's still got his knees chopped by Moananu coming steaming in. And yeah, it probably should have been a penalty if we're being honest, but the Crusaders are going to have possession still, although the Fijian Drua now get themselves the turnover. Noah Hotham won't let go of him. He's saying, I want to take the quick tap. He's holding the ball. Doing well, and then he gets a slap on the back of his head from the teammates. Reese is doing all right at centre. Says Michael Oliver, why did the Sevens, or why did they change the Sevens format? Oh, a beautiful kick downfield from the Fijian Drua. And they are now going to have the line out from inside of the 22 of their opposition. But yeah, they pretty much changed it because they thought it was going to be better for the game, which I think it did the complete opposite. It took away 4 nations from the 7 circuit, which at the time was someone like a Kenya or I think Kenya made their way back on because they cut them out. Then from there we lost Samoa, they lost Canada, 2 pretty big 7s markets, and they shortened the format as well. Now going off to the left-hand side, Moananu going to be kicking this one downfield. A very good kick from the big man. And it means that now Fijian Drua will have the line out about 40 metres out from their own line. Hello, who scored the try. So far for the Crusaders, we have seen one from Chaifiaki, one from... Who else did we see score? It was Antonio Shalfoon. And then the early try was Noah Hotham. I just had to look through the lineup and slowly put it together. Oh, that's another knock on from the Fijian Drua. Now Christian Leo Willie going across to the left. The advantage is over for the knock on now. Sitaneri has made his way onto the field. That is for Herete Hitit. Hotham trying to milk the offside advantage. Okay, Ben O'Keefe pretty much saying, you clearly threw it at him on the ground. I'm not rewarding that. I do love when a referee makes that decision. Wet ground or weather? No, it's a beautiful afternoon. 28 or so degrees, dry, but just the humidity I think is causing a lot more handling errors than we'd like to see. Now throwing this ball in, the Fijian Drua go to the back, and it is nicely claimed by Tabua Val. Top always change things around. They don't play rugby but love to make rules, says Spider Mick. Kick downfield, and it does go into touch again. We're currently playing a line-out battle between these two sides. Moana Pacifica just did another unthinkable. They're insanely strong in the second half. Like, the fact that they went out there down by 14 in a game that seemed like it was going to be relatively easy for the Tars, and then they just kept going and then won it by 3 or so tries in the end. Thrown in, nicely claimed by Antonio Shalfoon. Fijian Drua almost able to get the fingertips to it. Levi Amua tackled around the halfway line. Noah Hotham going back across to the left-hand side. Kamara goes off to Sever Reese. Like Tabu Aval was going to be staying down for a little bit longer there, but slowly making his way back to his feet. Looks like he might have been rocked by that last tackle. Will Jordan now on the short side gets through. Tries the chip. He's been taken out, but Macca Springer chases after it. Grubbers it forward, puts it down, and the Crusaders score the try. It was the Tasman boys linking up. Springer and Jordan are going to save 7s. They should turn it into a similar format. Polish table tennis for a couple of games every night from same ground. Broadcast it free. Set up entirety for gamblers. Says Studs Race. Although the thing is, like, they had a good setup. Like, I don't think there was anything wrong with the 16-team format. They just decided we need to change this because I think they wanted to make more money adding the finals leagues, but they could have still done that with all the teams. And you could have still done the promotion relegation if the bottom 2 sides of the 16. I think that having 12 teams and 8 teams are safe and 4 teams giving up their spot, or at least have the opportunity to give up their spot, is just bad. Like this year, they could lose, right? I haven't seen the exact bottom 4, so I'm going to have to guess a little bit. But off the circuit, they could lose USA, Ireland, Uruguay, and Kenya. For what? Just so that they can rotate it and kill off the rugby in all those nations? Because, like, no one that I know of watches the Challenger Series because you can't find it. Macca, you good thing, says Glenwoods, and Tasman Marcos says Blues Nate. And try time for the boys. And that one does hurt Moana Pacifica because they were just about getting towards a position of looking like scoring. And the Crusaders get it again. And one more Crusaders bonus. Says Blues Nate. The crowd are still enjoying it though. Although there are a few less happy faces in the stands than there were. Only 22.5 minutes remaining now between these two sides. Seeing here most metres gained Hotham, Fiaki, and who is also tied with Joe Tamani. Then it goes Asifa Masi and Macca Springer and Karawa Levu both have 23. Straight to sevens after this, pretty much straight away, yes. First game that has taken place of the sevens that we are covering is starting in 30 minutes time. So by the time subs are being made and by the time that a few other things happen in terms of the drinks break and everything, I think we're going to be pretty much into it as soon as this game ends. Let's go the draw we can, says Daniel. And then I should mention after that, we go into the Hurricanes Blues game, followed by Kenya versus France, as well as a few other games of the sevens. We've got them all scheduled on the channel. And then later on tonight, I believe we are doing Leinster versus Harlequins for the Champions Cup. So there's another one to keep the eyes on. This is Moana's season, says Jabez. Nicely taken by Joe Tamani. Ball on the side of the Fijian Drua now. Kuravuli going back across to the right-hand side. Task forwards back got creamed up by Moana's front row. Says Blues Nate. Yeah, it must have been a thing of beauty to watch in that second half. Oh, that's an ugly landing there for, I think it was the youngster Soa Tuwai. You know, wrong place, wrong time, getting taken out by a bit of friendly fire. Popped the ball up, great hands from Samu Tawake, but the Crusaders have managed to get the turnover. Moananu goes across to Noah Hotham. Fiaki shovels it on. And they'll go back for the advantage. This will be at the point of just frustration for the Fijian Drua. They've tried a lot and it just hasn't really worked out for them. Sitting about 40 metres out from the line in the position of this kick, but they will go for the corner. Now they are sitting only about 15 metres out. Just talking about the heat at the moment. It's starting to cause both sides to show the signs of fatigue. I'm going to have a warm shower, have a steak and egg, crack open a Steinlager, says Spider Mick. Now thrown in by Moana Nu, goes over the top. Nicely taken by Zariel Tongiatama. To also see that they have made the other change in the back line. Izakeli Rapitu is on now. Well controlled at the back from Will Jordan. Looks like he's going to try and get a 50-22 here. Keeping it low. There should be no chance of that one going out. And tell you what, he would have got it had it not been for the drawer rushing across. That's kicked out on the full though from Armstrong Ravula, which means that now another line out for the Crusaders. We are Highlanders, that's our name. We have the Everstein grenade and tough season for the draw, but Moana doing well. Says Mr. Billy and Crusaders versus the Chiefs for the grand final, says Ange. So if that is the case, Ange, are you saying it's a home final for the Chiefs or a home final for the Crusaders? Do let me know. Now rolling more. Oh, that was brutally slapped down. He slapped that ball like it owed him money at the back of that rolling ball there for Fiji. I don't think I've seen someone get as clean to just dislodging the possession. Noah Hotham saying he's not allowed to do that. Done nothing but whine this game, Noah Hotham, but that's what a halfback's job normally is. He's doing arm waves at someone. Will you do more Super Rugby 25 vids? We've still got the final. After that, I'm not 100% sure, just because I feel like the game has changed that much. Like every single video we've done, the game's been at a different stage, and it's still not at the best. It's only if it goes forward, they've just said. So really nicely done by the replacement, Samatawaki. In fact, no, that might have been Taniri who did that. And how about a VB and home Crusaders? Oh, so you're saying it's in Christchurch for that contest. Are they so done with pens? Yeah, it's still a problem. Like, I'd say give it a few more weeks and it could be different. Like, maybe instead we'll start a different series of trying to do something in the game. Armstrong Ravula kicks it in behind, chip forward, beautifully done for the Fijian draw, flicks it on the inside, and that is some classic Fijian passing, but somehow the The Crusaders have defended it and also forced the knock on. That is sensational work from the away side. Desperation to stop that try. And that's why they're near the top of the table. What would you do when the All Blacks lose to South Africa this year in Eden Park? What would you do if have people in the comments section mouthing off at you and blaming the ref? Well, I mean, it depends on what happens in that game, of course. Like, we can't really blame the ref this far out, or else, you know, it's a bit rough on the refereeing team. But like, we've had it before. People have said that we jinx certain sides. Normally, it's the ones who are betting on a game that then say, oh, you know, the team that should have won didn't win, so we're going to abuse this random guy who's talking about the game online. That's happened more times than I can count, but we're used to it at this point. Levi Moore goes off to the outside to Macca Springer. Does kick it downfield, going to be chasing this one. The only way the South African win is if they bribe the referee like they did in the World Cup. I don't know whether or not that was a thing. But that one's going to go into touch. Nice kick from Karawa Levu, but it will only put them about maybe 12 metres out from the line here. Mean defence from the Crusaders. Yeah, just scrambling. Like, wanting to make sure that they don't concede. I knew you were going to say something like that, says Demon the 11th. But now, we're going to throw this ball in. Still 18 minutes remaining. Moananu ready to throw this ball in. The Crusaders definitely improving their points differential from this game. Crusaders making final is a great season considering the poor season last year. Says Gary. Yeah, like I always did say last year that it was just that transition period. That losing all those guys and a coach is always going to make it tricky. But like, they've come back this year. Similar group of players to what they had last year too, and it's just made the difference of just having more time together. Will Jordan being back too is a massive bonus for them, having Blackadder back in the side, Barrett back, rather than all the injuries that he had last year. Now Mitch Drummond going off to the short side to Kamara. They have replaced Hotham. As a strong Crusaders side, a strong All Blacks side. Oh, short side, Moananu gets in, and that is try number 5 now for the Crusaders. Had a gap on the short side. I see Noah's on there, O'Connor and Blackadder. So I think they've pretty much just emptied the bench for the Crusaders now. And there's the bonus, says Blues Nate. The crowd still enjoying that one. A lot of Crusaders supporters at the game, it would seem. That was stupid to draw. You have a support runner, all you get to do is pop the ball. Boom, try easy, and Big Scooter got the day off, I believe. Yeah, they decided to give him a bit of a rest for this contest, which is fair enough. He works pretty hard for the Crusaders side. Cullen Grace, also another guy that didn't get the chance to play today. But 20 seconds left to be able to take this kick for James O'Connor. And a well draw, what happened? Well done, Crusaders, and try from the big boy, says Matthew. Not an easy kick, although Kamara did nail his first hard kick of the day. Good strike, and it's gone over from O'Connor, which will now make the score 31 points to 0 in favour of the Crusaders. This one getting a little bit ugly now in terms of that score margin. Just not really what the Fijian Drua expected from this game. The Crusaders did come in as favourites, but after that win for Moana Pacific, I think a few people felt like there was an underdog story perhaps for this game as well. JOC says Glenn Woods. It's going to be kicked high now from Isaiah Armstrong Ravula. I see taken by Quinton Strange. Now Mitch Drummond. Going off to the left-hand side to Tom Christie. Like they've said, losing to Moana Pacifica last week seems like it was the wake-up call in a way that the Crusaders needed. Was always going to be tough following Scott Robertson era. Exactly right. And it was always going to take time for the new coach, Penny, to be able to get his own systems going. And, you know, they're looking very strong this year. Yes, they've had a couple bad games. We saw that perfect example was the last match up against Moana Pacifica. But more times than not, oh, beautiful run there. Sorry to interrupt, but Terabitu has just scored that try between the sticks. That has made the crowd come alive. Becky Bags Crusaders finals in sight. And yes, Crusaders, says Fia. The first try of the match coming for the FIJIAN DRUA, and it is the replacement 23, Rabitu, does score it. Now, the Drua still need, I believe it is 2 more tries to be able to cut away the bonus point of this Crusaders team. And 35-26 Blues woman. So here's Kiwi Rob. Yeah, that looks a lot better for the FIJIAN DRUA, not having that 0 from this contest, but yeah, it was a little bit of a poor defensive play from the Crusaders, definitely because of what was happening earlier on with that rapid-fire defence fluke. Says John, I mean, it was a good run from Rabitu. It still had to run the line to get through. And enough pace to not be caught by the Crusaders. James O'Connor now going to be kicking this ball up high. And nicely taken inside of the 22 by Osifo Masi. Going back across to the right-hand side. Armstrong Ravola kicks the ball up high, looking for the cross kick towards Celestino. Ravotamanda doesn't get to O'Connor, but O'Connor takes it well. Now Drummond going short side, tries the chip. He's kicked it out on the full. So it is now going to be the FIJIAN DRUA line out yet again. Now 13 minutes remaining. The crowd have come alive ever since that try of the FIJIAN DRUA. They've found their voice. They're trying to get behind their team. Yes, it might be too much of a mountain to climb to come back to win this game. Oh, referee says we weren't ready for that one. Okay, the Drua tried to take that one quick enough that they didn't have guys actually set in there. And to make that 40 points to 26. Oh, the kick comes, there's Kiwi Rob. And Bulla Bulla. Says a Glenn, that's going to be thrown in. Nicely claimed by the FIJIAN DRUA. Tonio Wanga. Man who ends up with the ball. Seems like already they've found their next kind of level, I guess you could say, as well for this FIJIAN DRUA side. They seem a lot more, I don't know, just seem like they're more in the game just ever since scoring that try. And sometimes that's all it takes for the FIJIAN DRUA, just a confidence booster. But the problem is they've just left it too late to be able to find it all. Great steal in the breakdown. Blackadder tried to get another one, but FIJIAN DRUA going for the chip in behind. Nice take from Thiaki. And will now be the mark call. 10 minutes to go. Says Kiwi Rob. In this game, we have got the 12 minutes remaining. I will mention the next game that we are covering will be the Sevens matchup between South Africa and Great Britain. That is pretty much directly followed by Hurricanes versus Blues. So if you are new to the channel, of course, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. We've got plenty more Sevens, plenty more Super Rugby coming next week as well. That's a brilliant run from Antonio Wanga. Had the man in support, goes on the outside, and it's another try for the FIJIAN DRUA. Probably try of the match. Although that the Will Jordan to Macca Springer try was pretty good as well. Definitely the FIJIAN DRUA's best try of the contest. Great to see Fiji on the board, and they have just doubled their points, or at least have the potential of being able to do so, but just goes through. Levi Moore misses the tackle. So does James O'Connor, who got sold so far the wrong way. He was back in Australia, and they do get themselves another try. Well, what a thrashing. Just tuned back in. Says annoying. Gosh darn it. How can you wake up more knackered than when you went to sleep? It is always brutal when that happens. We know that feeling all too well. You see, I was a bit of a weird sleeping schedule today. I decided to go to sleep at 6:30 a.m. this morning just so that I was more awake for the overnight streams that we have got coming up. Hopefully you are keeping well, Seb. Pakistan need 170 runs from 21 overs. And Bulla Bulla says Glenn Armstrong Ravola gets it over, making the scoreline a lot more respectable. And if they score one more try, they take away the Crusaders bonus point. Nice try from the Drua, says Matthew. Yeah, just that gap opening up, getting sold the complete wrong way twice there. Just brilliant work from the number 21. So that is now 2 tries for the FIJIAN DRUA bench. Pakistan getting hammered in the store, says Sai. But now it's going to be kicked downfield. James O'Connor, 10 minutes remaining on the clock. And the Drua once again, they just seem like they're in a better mindset than they were 5 or so minutes ago. Will the Canes put the Blues out of their misery tonight? Says Annoy. It's very hard to say. Like, everyone is waiting for that Blues comeback, or at least, like, a Blues win, really. Like, they've only had the one, I think, this season so far. They're on 7 points, and they've been close multiple times, but it just slips through the fingertips. So, we'll have to wait and see. Try-time Blues woman, says Kiwi Rob. Now it's going to be thrown in by Moana Nu. And nicely claimed by Quinton Strange. Drummond goes across to O'Connor. I think the Crusaders will now know they need one more try to make sure they have that bonus point. Will Jordan going for the high kick. Chased by Fiaki as well as Jordan. Knocked on by Fiaki though and picked up by the drawer inside of their 22. It's going to be Valive Mira. Back across to the right-hand side. Armstrong Ravula shoveling the ball on. Draw playing with a little bit of rhythm here too. Another big run coming forward. Offloaded on the inside. The drawer going again. Kicked in behind. Armstrong Ravula just not quite winning the foot race. Will Jordan takes it back as the safe option. Oh, he waited for it to go over the line. Will Jordan, they've called that a goal line dropout. Tell you what, that must have been inches. That is either the most brilliant play from Will Jordan, or he's got extremely lucky that that ball travelled just far enough. It looked like he was going to be forcing it down anyway. Just kind of dove early and watched it. The thing is, though, is that playing the ball on the ground? He's kind of slid early, blocking the Fijian draw player to then put it down once it's over the line. It's an interesting one, but it is a very good play from Will Jordan. It meant that there was the goal line dropout, flat pass in front of the referee. Draw in position, though, 30 metres out. Imagine getting stranded on 99 not out, says Glenn Woods. Yeah, who was that last game? Mitch Hay, wasn't it? Or, yeah, I think he got 99 Hayes in the end. That's going to be nicely run forward by the Fijian drawer again. Only 7 minutes remaining on the clock here. And they are continuing to work. Big shot coming in on Tanieri. Across to the right, Armstrong Ravola goes to Poniapati, Logan and Massey. A pretty quiet game overall here. Amish in tip-top condition after nap. Good stuff, dedicated commentary. Says Shane. And she's ready to enjoy the weekend of rugby and county cricket. I hope you and everyone are well. Says Sebastian in there too. That's one thing I haven't been watching enough of this year is county cricket. I said that I was going to, and then I think I watched one half game. Oh, what an offload that is from the Fijian draw. Valive Mira offloading again. Going off to Kuravoli, who just tried the miracle pass from his back. And that's going to be the knock-on. There are so many exhausted players now out there on the field. Ever since Fijian draw have upped the tempo, seems like the Crusaders, yeah, that was a good tackle from James O'Connor. Mina's commentary as usual, Hamish. Says Matthew, thank you very much, mate. Mache. Still it's a not out, eh? That is true. Like, he'll take it. At the end of the day, like, for him to get as close as he did, I don't think anyone really expected. But I think he needed the 6 off the last ball, didn't he? To be able to bring it up. A nice work, Will Jordan. I could have been obstruction. I don't know, ball unplayable. Says Blues Nate. Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because he kind of had to crawl backwards as well, or kind of propel himself towards where the ball was going. It's one that I think is completely legal, but if you really looked at it, you might find an error in there. Man, if the Fijian draw managed capitalised on that near-miss try earlier, what an insane finish it would have ended up becoming. Says Demon the 11th. Yeah, the fact that the draw are on 14 now, I think, is even just a really big showing of what the side can do late when they take their opportunities. Like, that's been the big difference. There's been less handling errors from Fiji in the last 15 minutes, and it's led to tries. But, you know, this was another play that they had a bit of a handling error, so now it's a scrum for the Crusaders, which means that that'll use up another minute off the clock. But if the Drua score once more, they take away the Crusaders' bonus point. If the Crusaders score again, then they increase that points differential. So I would say that the Crusaders they would look to just kick this ball out if we were up to the 79th minute. But, of course, we still have another 5 minutes remaining. And Blues will come back in the second half of the season. Says Ange. I'd like to think so. Everyone is waiting for the start of the Blues comeback. And it hasn't happened yet, but it will at some point, I'm sure. And I do still think they'll be near the top 6. In fact, they should be in the top 6, let's be honest. They're defending champs. But the Crusaders were defending champs last year. So people are starting to think maybe there's a bit of a curse about being top of the table one year and then you have it go downhill the next. Now line out here for the Fijian draw after Drummond was able to clear the lines of the Crusaders. Moment lineouts one, we've seen 11-1 by the Crusaders compared to the 10-1 of the Fijian draw. I think that said that they've lost 7 of their own lineouts here, the Fijian draw, which is a bit of a concern. They will want to work on heading forward now. Simeone Kuravuli going back across to the right-hand side of Sifil Masi. Goes off to Ravatomanda. Looking for the turnover was Levi Moore. Thanks, Crusaders. Says, hey. Another step. Offloaded up. Big man starting to pump his legs. And Samu Tawaki. Tom Christie. Clean steal in the breakdown. Brilliant work off the Jackal. And now Jordan looking for the kick downfield. Gets it into touch and back to the halfway line. The Fijian draw go. This has been the tactic for the Crusaders all throughout this match. Is pretty much just don't play the rugby inside of their own half. If they are, kick it downfield. Make the draw run it from their own 50 metres. Give you more time to defend. Now 3.5 minutes left on the clock, which is good news because it does mean that we will be on time for our next live stream between South Africa and Great Britain in the 7s. That's going to be overthrown by the draw, but it is claimed at the back. Crusaders just being warned that they would be offside. They did go up for that. Sifil Masi almost through. He's knocked it on and he might have injured himself in the process. Big shot coming from Levi Amoy, and we've got another scrum feed. Hey, let's go the draw, says Sitari. And also Blues will win tonight. That will lose to Pacific next week. You heard it here first. Says Demon the 11th. So far we've seen 19 handling errors from these two sides in this match. First of which was from, well, in fact, the higher number of the two is from the Crusaders, believe it or not, 10 to the 9. Now another scrum. You know, Kev, I have to say, he's done a really good job of keeping this game moving. Because in this type of heat, it's very easy for the players to try and slow it down, but he's pretty much just shoveled them along the whole way. That's been, who's been winning lineouts for the Crusaders then? Antonio Shalfoon has been doing quite a bit of work. I think they've used Christian Leo Willie a little bit for the ones near the back as well. But a lot of the times when the draw have lost their lineouts, it's actually been just from either throwing it over the top and the Crusaders grabbing it or going over the top and then dropping it or something along those lines. Pacific haven't won 3 in a row, have they? I don't think so. Would be quite the substantial milestone for that team and a big achievement. Fearing the Pacific, I don't see the Hurricanes beating the Blues tonight. And now 2 minutes left. Fijian draw, they will remain at the bottom of the table at the end of this round by the looks of it. I didn't go watch the game. If not, I will waste my ticket money. Fiji draw, says Safania. Go on to the short side. Now it's going to be knocked on by Shafiaki. So there's been a lot of drop balls throughout this matchup. And we got ourselves another scrum now. Who won between Moana and Waratahs. So Waratahs were leading 21 points to 7 at half time. Moana Pacifica then went on to score 38 points in the second half and win 45 points to 28. So they just came back big time in that game and got themselves yet again another win. Joe Tamani just trying to fire up his team. Everyone's spanking Taneri in the front row. And also final score is 49 points to 26 in favour of the Blues women. Says Kiwi Rob. That ball is about to be fed and that one's gone down. Who's had the most possession? Crusaders narrowly have had more and they've also had more territory throughout this match too. But it's still relatively close to 50-50. Okay, 30 seconds remaining. You know, Keith just saying, come on, boys, last scrum. We just want to keep this one up. And cheers, Hamish, take it easy, says Studs Race. But yeah, 5 minutes time, we are going to be live on the channel again. That is for South Africa versus Great Britain in the sevens. And then straight after that, we're going on to Blues versus Hurricanes in Super Rugby Pacific. So be sure, keep an eye out for that one. Crusaders, good comeback after last week, says Glenn Woods. This ball is now going to be fed in, big push from the Crusaders, and they get the penalty right at the end. Shalfoon shouting in the face of Asoa Tuwai. And Toso says Satiri. So now, James O'Connor, I think that they'll just take the tap and boot this ball into Dutch. There is no need to play longer. No, they kick that ball out, and they will win this contest up against the Fijian Drua in Fiji, 31 points to 14. It was a little bit more one-sided before the Fijian Drua started that little bit of a comeback, but it wasn't enough. We have got there Zephaniah. They said, I say this, for the Fijian Drua, it is a good word, is encouraging, says Zephana in there as well. See, the thing is, I was not born yesterday. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to enter it into Google Translate. And I will find out exactly what it means, and let's see if you are being honest. It means forestry. Why does it mean forestry? That seems like a strange thing to say, like you're saying they're like trees. So the final will be a Blues woman versus Matatu. It'll be Eden Park at 6:40 next Saturday. Right, so it's going to overlap with Highlanders Fijian Drua by the sounds of that. Cheers again for the commentary, bro. I'll see you on the next stream, and always grateful for your stream, Kiwi lad. Says Glenn Woods. But nonetheless, I do thank you all very much for tuning in. If you did enjoy, of course, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. We'll be back in 3 minutes for South Africa versus Great Britain.